Hey, it's the last passive AD Fnatic upset, and you're watching Thorin's YouTube channel.
This is not just a video about Team Liquid benching Alphari, speculating, blah, blah, blah. Look, I'll set the story up with the known information, so there's a timeline, people who are just coming in fresh, get what's going on, but then I'll hit you with the download and the juice, and trust me, it's way bigger than Alphari, Jatt, and just Team Liquid in terms of, oh, Jenkins, and when they're doing it for the top lane reasons. So Team Liquid were the runners-up in the spring split. They had an amazing roster on paper. They had to use a sub-jungler for the last two series, though, and they lost to Cloud9 anyway. They narrowly lost in a fifth game to Cloud9 after being up in the series. Alphari was arguably MVP of the split. I know Blabber won it, but I thought Alphari was the best overall player in the LCS. Notice that means by default he's the best player in Team Liquid. And since Team Liquid had to use a sub-jungler, Armao, formerly Grig of TSM, against TSM and C9 instead of Thooorin for the last two series, basically a lot of people thought they could have won spring. They almost did anyway. I can't wait for summer, especially since Cloud9 went to MSI and shit the bed in key moments against lesser teams. But after the first game that they lost to TSM in the summer split, Alphari was benched for academy player Jenkins, and that didn't make sense on any level. Team Liquid through Jatt said, from what I remember, that they did it for basically like implied like for performance reasons, or Jenkins had earned his spot or whatever. They tried to play the game that it wasn't anything else. The problem is that on itself doesn't make sense. Alphari is much better as a top laner than Jenkins. Jenkins, who I've never fucking heard of, wasn't even someone I was hearing in the scene, had academy hype. I was taught by his coach that he's a good player and he was the best player on Team Liquid Academy, but he wasn't ever presented behind the scenes to me from hype as like, this guy's got to be an LCS. Wow, no one ever even vaguely ever alluded to him being at the level of Alphari. I've still never heard anyone privately say he's as good as Alphari. I've even heard from the people who say he's good, like, look, he's not Alphari, but he can play an LCS, he is good. The team even, by the way, picked Gangplank with Jenkins, and quite frankly, if you watch my inflections with Alphari, he says he thinks he's the best Gangplank in the West. He is better than Jenkins, certainly, and he is an amazing Gangplank. So that even to me hinted, this is personal. They're not just, either they prepped the whole time with Alphari, which we'll get to later why that can't be the case if what Jatt says is true, and yet they're then picking, so they're then having to put Alphari's pick and the way they're drafting onto Jenkins, and he wasn't supposed to be playing ever, or they're just saying, you know what, Jenkins, fuck Alphari and his stupid little Welsh face. We're going to say, give you his favourite champion while he's benched and really stick it to this motherfucker that it should be him there, but it ain't, it's you. And when he watches you play a worse Gangplank, maybe he can think twice about what he's done. That's the vibe that I was getting. That was between Alphari and the coaching staff. I also have my own inside information. I'll just say this, after game one, the game he was benched after, go watch his press conference for the day, look how tilted he looks, then go watch my reflections with him and see how upbeat he is and see how interesting he is to answer the questions, how engaged, how much he loves to talk about league and some of the specifics. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Then, of course, he did his tweet. So let's have a look at his tweet, shall we? So because Jatt had said essentially that he'd been benched for like performance reasons or whatever, and he also implied that like he was thinking about benching from a month earlier. Out comes Alphari and makes this tweet. He says, was going to get Chick-fil-A for dinner, then saw an ad for Chipotle and decided, fuck it, why not, let's get some Mexican. Wasn't spur of the moment, by the way. Calculated this a month in advance. Now, I really hope you get the joke there. The joke is, he obviously saying, like, I was just going to get my dinner tonight and I changed my mind last minute, but actually I decided a month ago, which can't be the case from the setup of the joke. Now, that's a great fucking joke. It's actually really funny. By the way, he puts the alpha in fucking Alphari, didn't it? It's also not just funny, but it's a way to get the message out there to imply, guess what? In the same way as I did my change here, Jatt didn't really just decide a month ago to bench me. He did it last minute and for an impulsive reason. Like, I just decided, fuck it, and go and get this for some other reason. Just fancied something else, right? So when Jatt implied that he'd considered it a month ago, he's managed to find a way cleverly to say that isn't the case. What a sick way to do it, by the way. He doesn't want to just get banged out in some contract clause dispute where he's disparaged the org and he's said something that he's not allowed to as an NDA component. Watch the crackdown when we talk about this within a flame and speculate on all this stuff. And again, reveal inside info, but we can't always do it overtly. So you can't, by the way, you can't, if you're Alphari, just let yourself get benched like this and cocked completely. You can't let this fucker, if he is indeed lying, imply that at the game, your entire livelihood, you aren't good enough. And not only aren't you good enough, they're going to use fucking this guy Jenkins over you. And in fact, you're not even good enough to play on Team Liquid. How fucking dare you if you're Jatt in that scenario? If I'm Alphari, how fucking dare you? Now, that never added up to me anyway, that he was benched a month earlier and that it was always something he thought about for performance reasons or to fit the team. Because when Jatt came on the crackdown, just over a month prior, be it a month and a half ago now, he praised Alphari heavily. I think from memory he even said something mad like he had the best laning he'd ever seen or something. Like, he was very, very much praising. But we're supposed to believe, like a week after that, a few days after that, he started going, you know what? Maybe fuck Alphari and I'll play this Jenkins guy that no one really talks about. And I'll even play him on Alphari's champions. But I'll then keep implying Alphari might come back later, but I'll keep playing Jenkins because that's what I've decided to do because I'm the coach. Doesn't add up. I mean, I will just say this, by the way. If you don't know who Jatt is, some of that might come later in this episode and it might be eye-opening to you because you can't just look at what people present on camera. They know they're on camera. They're speaking very carefully. I'm different in that regard. I sometimes just say wild things. Sometimes I even go too far myself, don't I? Maybe later on I would think, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I went too far. Yeah, it happens. Other people tend to be the opposite. A little bit more reserved, a little bit more careful, a bit more calculated about what they're saying. So rather than just repeat my speculations, which I'll read briefly there, or just the tiny bit of inside info I had at the time, here's the full download of what can't be revealed by anyone inside Team Liquid and what can be said publicly, because I'm smart. Y'all don't get to find out who my sources are. Even if you're in Team Liquid, even if you're Steve Arhansett watching this now, you won't figure it out from me saying this, mate. I don't give away the identifying details. I say just enough, and I'll even vaguely make it so it could be 2 or 3 people who maybe it was only 1 or 2, and I'll let you figure it out, mate. You can have the fucking Poirot episode where you get them all in a room and you go, the murderer is inside this room and we will attempt to find them by examining the details of the case. Like, you can go for that if you want, mate. You can have your little Dardoc meetings where you're trying to figure out what the guy's thinking, or you can listen to what I'm saying. Understand this is legit and maybe take the action you need to if you want to save your organisation right now and all those fucking millions you've invested, my dude. So, okay, how about this? And by the way, do you plebs ever stop and wonder how I know all this info, or how I can even speculate about stuff that seems to be legit when I then interview them later, or somehow it seems as though actually like they thought similarly, or they don't disagree with me on a talk show? You never thought that when I do interviews with people, when I do shows with people, when I have them on Twitter and they follow me and I follow them and I can DM them, you don't think they ever tell me even better shit before the show or after the show or in response to something I say in a video, or they DM me some info, I ask them what's going on. You don't think that's possible, do they? No. You think, like you, I can only watch the video. I can only do what's on camera. I can only see what they say tweet publicly. I can only see what press statements say. I can only see what they say on stream. Cute. How long you been supporting TSM for on Reddit? Right, let's do the Alphari benching first and work our way back. That's the main thing you want to know initially, right? So like a Tarantino movie, we're going to start a bit out of order and it's going to loop back in and it's going to make a lot of sense. So there was already a sentiment, as I'll explain later, that most of the Team Liquid players didn't like Jatt's coaching style, didn't like his attitude and didn't like his behaviour towards them. In communicating with Alphari though, the coaching staff, Alphari was just basically straight up honest. He just basically told them, like, yeah, I don't fuck with this. So that's who Alphari is. Like, this is a guy who isn't trying to present an image and sell it and make it and be world famous and just make millions of dollars just for being a personality and be a big name. No, he wants to play the game and be the best and win. He ain't going to kiss your ass and tell you that you're competent if you aren't. You know why? Because his whole shit, his whole personality and his career is founded on his competence at the game League of Legends. That's how he got to this point. It wasn't from having a sparkling personality and streaming and making jokes. It was by being so fucking good at top lane and laning in top lane and being a monstrous top lane solo laner that's why he got hired for big bucks to be on Team Liquid and flown to another fucking country. Hence why, by the way, look at his career. Look who he's chosen to play with. He wanted to play with people like Mickey X. He wanted to play with people like Nukedoc, Upset. Guys who were very good at certain things, competent. Nukedoc side laning, champion pool, Upset's team fighting, lane dominance. This guy is from Wales in the United Kingdom. Let me just explain something to you. It's in his DNA. His people would have been farmers or coal miners down a fucking mine getting black lung. He would have been shoveling peat out of a fucking bog on the border to England or something. He isn't going to dress up what's going on or act all fake and put on airs or be euphemistic about what he's doing. This guy is a true top laner. The top lane is a macho role for real men, assuming you're a man and you play the game. I don't know what it's like for women. something. These top laners, a top laner is a Ronin who has no master. He takes care of his. He doesn't always need the help of others. He can fight 1v2 if needs be to protect his land. What he does is he can form alliances and he can help in your fight if it's his fight as well, and it makes sense. But you respect the top laner. He plays the longest solo lane in the game. He gets ganked all the time. He gets put in the unfavourable matchups. He plays the weak side when necessary, and he still goes even in CS. He still wins the CS. He still comes out later in the game capable of doing something because he's a true fucking top laner. That's why it sucked to me when Riot just ripped the soul out of the role. They've done it to every role eventually, even when they put the fucking mid laners on just the mages or whatever and just make them OP as fuck. They sucked the soul out of that role and crippled great players like Flame, Soaz, Shy. They might have done great things after that, but they never got to be the individual dominant player they were at the time. It wasn't for years till he could play that style again. So I heard basically Jatt got personally offended by this, reacted really badly to it all, and rather than find a way to resolve it, which I don't think was possible if someone's essentially thinking like, you're just not good at your job, and I don't think you are, yeah, you're probably not going to get past that impasse. He impulsively benched him as punishment. Then it was extended to weeks more. You know, beatings will continue until morale improves. Alphari's tweet didn't help because it implied he's not backing down. He's going to fight back a little bit even publicly. Because you know what? Why should he back down? Oh, so he can... Yeah, so you're going to go, man, my job. You do like a shit job. You have no choice. You aren't hired for your job because you're the best in the world in it. You just do your job because they wanted someone to work there and you applied and they picked you as one of many people and they can replace you tomorrow. You are a cog in a machine. Is Alphari? No. He's a player who was headhunted. He's one of the most desired top laners in the whole of fucking Western League of Legends. He could have played for all sorts of teams in this game. And then you know what? If you do bow to your boss and power, go, I do it just for the sake of... Yeah, then you pay the Faustian bargain for that price. It ain't just the salary that you get. It's what you give up from your soul, mate. You can give in. You can sell out if you want to. Don't ever tell another man to sell out, though. He is his own man, and he will make his own fucking choices. So here's the thing. This wasn't just about Alphari, guys. He was the canary in the coal mine on this one, because he was the one who came out and was blunt with the coaching staff. Others in the team also don't like Jatt's coaching style, including his game knowledge, his attitude, how he behaves around them, and behaviour specifically while coaching them. Like I've heard, basically he's just pointing out tons of mistakes they're doing, but then the player disagrees. Actually, some of them think this feedback is just simply incorrect. It is just wrong what he's saying, and some of his characterizations are just completely off about how people play or aren't playing or playing in LCS matches, and thus they think Jatt's game knowledge and meta read just isn't legit. And by the way, think of some of the players on Team Liquid, guys. Jensen's done it all for a player from that region. MVP player for years and years and years. Top 8 at Worlds. Top 2 at MSI. Then how about Cordia J? He's only a fucking world champion. Almost twice over because he was in 2 Worlds finals and was 1 game from winning 2 world championships potentially. Also helped Team Liquid go to the MSI final. Did you enjoy going to the MSI final, Steve Arhanset? I'd suggest you pay attention to the guy who helped you get there, mate. Because maybe he might know a thing or two about the game and how to structure a good team. So that this whole like approach of him picking on them essentially, I've heard basically that when he would single them out, this would have a big impact on these players. Like, I'll just speculate myself, purely my own speculation. I start to wonder if this is part of why Thorin went missing in the playoffs. Because they sort of implied like he was ill or sick, but it maybe felt to me like maybe, is he depressed? Or is something off with his mood? And why are they waiting day to day to update us? Like, I don't know about that whole thing. Something was really off about that. Something didn't feel right about that to me either. And then they also stressed in that about, you know, how Arma will do a good job and we're not giving up and we're going to win. Like, I don't know. And when I look back now in hindsight, it starts to feel a bit wrong. Like, I start to feel like if this kind of environment was going on in the team, someone like Thorin would be an obvious one who might break under the pressure. Like, I can't imagine this guy being able to handle heavy stress like that, like a drill sergeant motherfucker on you. He's not a very forthright guy. It's why he was chewed up and spit out by the TSM machine. Like, I look at that, and then you look at the team he thrived on, FlyQuest, where it's all these chill motherfuckers. It's people like PoE. It's just cool-ass guys. There's coaching staff that's very chill vibe. The org doesn't expect too much from you. That's where he thrived, boys. But now he's under the bright lights of Team Liquid, isn't he? Now he's playing for one of the big boy teams, the Lakers, the fucking Knicks or something. So the suggestion I get is this. If you push back against Jatt wrecking you and telling you you're wrong about shit and you have to do it differently, basically he goes ham on you. And they implied it's borderline bullying. That's like the level we're talking about. The stress levels people were at were unacceptable is what I was told. So I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying that's how players felt and how they characterise it. Now, I'll do a little side tangent on Jatt here to fill you in on some stuff that they didn't tell me. I know myself, and I even thought, you guys don't know the half of it. I just had Jatt on the Crackdown a month or so ago, and I was very respectful to him. Well, people might know it wasn't always like that between me and him. And we kind of have a truce now, we just agree to respect each other's work. Because I always respected his work. That's the little secret. A lot of idiots don't get this. Whenever they're like, you're just biased and all that. Think about this. When Monty was the #1 expert in League of Legends, considered like what LS is now, the #1 commentator in League of Legends, everyone loved his shit, all this stuff he's inventing in LCK, LGN. Who did I always say was my favourite caster and analyst? I said it was Jatt. In other words, I explicitly essentially told you it wasn't Monty, even though I always very much appreciated his work as well. I thought Jatt was really good on camera. I thought he did a really great job with his own game knowledge. Certainly, the stuff he presented on camera seemed like he knew a lot about the game and had a deep understanding. So I always thought his predictions were pretty good too. So I actually think, okay, in terms of his work, yeah, it seemed like he's one of the best to ever do it. Here's my issue. I heard a lot of horror stories, because I know all the talent. I heard a lot of horror stories from talent behind the scenes. The kind that get out there, but only in, when you're having a cigar and a brandy and the right conversations go on around the world and that person isn't there. I basically heard when he was talent, he was super difficult to work with. He had a diva-esque attitude. Essentially could just fly off the handle over nothing. Didn't like to be roasted or in any way shown up on the broadcast. By the way, part of your job as part of a show. Sometimes, like WWE, you have to lose this fight, even though in real life you might be able to beat the guy in a fight. It's part of the show. And I also heard he was basically quite controlling, and he used the fact that he had connection to the broadcast riot. That always meant he had sort of a little bit more leverage than you did, potentially. So as a result, when I then hear this stuff from players, it's starting to all match up. I'm starting to go, this is... Ding, 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 ding. I'm starting to get somewhere here. It's one of the reasons why I used to publicly tease him on Twitter, on my talk shows, because it's just the thing with me. When I see someone's ego get inflated like a balloon, I like to be the little prick that comes along and pops that motherfucker. It's childish, but it has to happen eventually from someone. So I just make it myself who does it. And in doing so, I've made myself a lot of enemies. Now, with all of that said, some players can certainly be very soft. Some players in the LCS can. Some want to be talked to in a milquetoast manner and have never a raised eyebrow or never, don't raise your voice about me and all. It's all just sitting democratically and you're not really my boss on chat. Yeah, I get all that. I will say, I look at the names in this team, I don't buy it. Like, I don't buy the idea, JJ, Jensen, Alphari. These players, like, Georgia J's made a certain stuff, mate. Jensen used to be considered toxic and has a killer attitude in the game. And as I said about Alphari, he's just a fucking competent guy who's about playing the game and no bullshit. The idea these players are ever going to be like, it's too much for me. No, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it from knowing them and knowing a little bit about Jatt. Now, here's the thing. Maybe Jatt was good in some respects as a coach. Maybe his game knowledge is better than they're implying. Maybe they just didn't vibe with him. Maybe he didn't have the communication skills to be able to talk to them in a way and get across this impasse with them and get them on side. Okay, maybe things just went south after a couple of bad meetings and emotions got involved. Tell you what, if he wants to reach out to me and tell me his side, he's more than welcome to. I'll consider what he says. I'll let it inform me if it makes sense. I might even disagree with some of the things the players said, but this is the things I've heard. So speaking of liquid, I'm partnered with Gamersops, a great tasting energy formula. Gets you hyped to go flying in, just like Tactical. Or you could just choose to be sour with sour apple, just like Jatt. Code Thorin, THORIN, for 10% off at gamersops.gg. Because the issue here is the players didn't want to get wrecked privately. They essentially sort of got together. This is booked up. Yeah, what's he doing? Yeah, he doesn't even know about it. I don't fuck with this at all. And basically, I've heard from a bunch of different sources, they just went to management with this. And basically, management knows about it, but for some reason, they're siding with Jatt. Even though I've heard also from all my source network that they are aware that people inside the org think he's overrated. That he's not that good at game feedback, that he's just wrong, that he's not someone that seems to be doing a great job connecting with players. So basically, apparently Jatt lied on Twitter about Alphari's benching to save his own hide and to further punish Alphari and create a scenario where he took the one thing Alphari cares about, knowing that he is the best at the fucking game and that he's a very good player, and he took that from him as a way to spite this guy. And he, as a coach, he made his chances to win worse by cutting off his nose to spite his face. Instead of getting over his own ego, figuring out, even if I don't play with this guy in the future, even if I'm not his coaching, I've got to get through this split, I've got to have one of my best weapons, I've got to win. That is ultimately the first part of my job, and then I can worry about disciplinary issues in the off-season, or I can deal with, or I can go elsewhere, or they can go elsewhere. But you know what? Let's be professionals. Let's put our differences aside. Let's complete this split. Win the fucking split, and then let's go get top 4 at Worlds, boys. Then we'll worry about it after the fact what we can do. But no. So even later, Team Liquid said it was personal reasons Alphari wasn't playing. Yeah, he personally doesn't fucking like the way this coach behaves and his paper-thin ego. I would speculate. See how I did that? So I've personally, by the way, I'll rag the players a little bit. I think it's so stupid that Jensen went on Hotline League and basically went on, made it seem all fun and games, but wouldn't talk about certain things. And in doing so, basically created the sentiment of like, oh, it's just people reading into it. And obviously Travis did a great job playing defense for the Orgs as usual. And as a result, people are going to think, no, it's just cool. See, Jensen was out joking around, laughing around. You shouldn't even have gone on the show, mate. This wasn't the right time for that. Unless you were going to subtly hint at what was going on Alphari style. And you didn't do that, even though I fuck with you heavy. Alphari, you should never ever have made that deleted tweet. You should never have made tweets or statements implying you're in any way cool with this or vaguely aligning with this. These motherfuckers are railroading you. Do not let them do it, my dude. I know everyone breaks. I know the social pressure. I know thousands of people saying you're unprofessional. I know people go, just do your job. If I did my job, I'd get fired. Well, maybe players got too big egos. Yeah, but he's always in toxic. I've heard he's toxic on fucking OG. Listen, you don't let that shit go. You can't handle it once it gets out of your control. But the part you can control that, mate. Here's the thing I tell you right now. Reach out to me in the off season or after this year. We can get you another team, mate. We can get you one of the best European teams. We can get you some other NA team who can make sure they know what their fucking place is, who they're getting and what they're going to deliver to you. And you'll deliver like an absolute professional in the server in terms of practice and do what needs to be done. We'll just set it up. We don't need this bullshit Team Liquid drama where apparently Team Liquid's the new fucking TSM. Nah, we ain't about that. Even people like Jensen, didn't you learn your lesson from Cloud9, mate? The way they treated you, the way they gave you that fucking, they just cut your balls off and made you earn your way back when you were carrying their fucking bitch asses for years before. Nah, I don't fuck with that, mate. I tell these people privately I don't fuck with it. So I know it's hard because when you grow up in this world, everything's helicopter parent. It's, oh, don't be too loud, Timmy. You know, don't misbehave that way. And how rude and how could you? Oh my God, toxic masculinity. Nah, be a man. Be a real man. Stand up for yourself. Say what you believe in. Don't back down. If they don't like it, go elsewhere. Go where you're appreciated. Go where people appreciate competence. Where it ain't about image. Where it ain't about you have to just do what we say. Nah, if I'm one of the best in the world and you hire me for that, let me fucking do my job. I don't want to have to deal with this guy's ego as well. They used to say in the NBA, Dennis Rodman said this, you don't get paid to play, you get paid to deal with all the bullshit outside of it. Is that what it is in LCS? If I want to get mega paid, and by the way, I noticed they bench all the stars in European players except fucking Bjergsen, it seems. Basically, if I want to get paid, am I actually getting paid millions of dollars to just put up with Jatt's ego and him wrecking me and my teammates? Or am I being paid to be the best top laner in lane, right? Am I being paid to win some team fights, win some games? Which one is it? Because if you want all of that, time to pay fucking double, Steve Arhansett. So, okay, here's what I'm going to say, right? I don't think this can be resolved based on the characterisation I'm getting. It's gone too far. These players as a unit do not want to play for this coach. They do not respect this coach. They do not respect what this coach does in his job, in his game knowledge. They are not going to play at their peak for this coach. So Team Liquid Management needs to sack up and make a choice. Because I'm telling you right now, and this is the God's honest truth from one man to another, either you find a way to remove Jatt or get him on a fucking leash and potentially you can still salvage this split and maybe do something at Worlds because you've got the best roster on paper of all of the LCS teams. I think you've even got a better roster than most of the LEC teams, even some of the teams that will probably go to Worlds. Or you keep Jatt. Probably won't win this split because the players seem demotivated. They don't want to play for him. They don't want to win for him. He's not a leader of men in that regard. And by the way, some of them aren't even fucking playing in the game right now, and you might not even go to Worlds. Or if you do, it'll be shit, and it'll be the group stage elimination. Then, oh wait, it ain't over yet. It gets worse. Story ain't over, folks. Because what happens after that? Well, potentially, people force transfers by asking for trade demands or saying, I don't want to play next year, even if I'm under contract. Maybe someone says, I just opt out, I won't resign, I'll go play elsewhere, I'll go play fucking anywhere else except for this. Get this guy the fuck out of my face. Get him out of my grill. Because you risk losing it all, Team Liquid. Think about the core you've got. Core JJ, Jensen, Alphari. That could be the core of the best Western team to ever do it in LCS. Could be the core of the best Western team. If you look at how good those players are, you put the right pieces around and the right coach. So think it through. Because this mutiny, as far as I can tell, is happening for good reasons. It's in response quite appropriately scaled to what's been going on with the coaching staff. Jatt's played his part and he's done his subterfuge and he's done his espionage and he's been out there sowing his seeds, doing his own little finger game. But you know what? There's more little fingers in this game, Jatt. And I tell you what, I'm the fucking biggest of them all. Oi! This video was kindly supported by Eddie, Kris with a K, Lager15, Pronogo, Shenlong, Zachary Carter, Zack Schmidt, Adam Ochs, Alexander Rao, Animosity, Dean Tanglis, Doomseer, ErikHillestad, Hades, Jdubs, Jensen Goh, John Shelton, Joseph Ginsburg, Kovacevicd, Tobias Bernasconi, Zoomba, and Zyrathenia. And as always, special thanks go out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Want to suggest a topic or a guest? Do you want to ask a question in one of those AMAs? Do you want teasers? See who the guests are? Maybe you want to take part and chat with me in one of those esports discussions. Well, for all of the above, put your money where your mouth is, join the Patreon link in the description box below, and become a part of the Skrilluminati.